All right, everyone. Well, thank you for hopping on the call today. So it's, as you all know, the first day of the 10 days, in what I suspect Chris was talking about when I hopped on. First of the 10 days of free fair. What are we calling it? Free fair NBA. I don't know what we're calling it, but so I'm going to be putting a push out over the next week or so, just to be like, hey, this is a great thing. Why don't we actually like support transit the entire time instead of just here? And um, we've got yes, we do. I hopped in on the part where yes, we absolutely need to be paying our drivers more, and I'm going to make sure that that's part of the conversation too. But yeah, so just a heads up on that. That's kind of some of my plans as far as what is going forward. But I hope everyone's doing well today, and I'm ready to just go ahead and dive on in if everybody else is. First thing up on the agenda is the approval of the January minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look that over and do what they need to do?
No, but it's good.
All good.
Okay.
Whatever's there.
What's that, Rita?
I reviewed it, and I'll motion that we accept them as written.
I'll second
Sounds good.
that.
There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any no's? Okay, fantastic. All right, thank you. All right. So next item on the agenda is just kind of an update of everything that I have been up to since the last meeting. So since the last meeting, I've worked 16.5 hours. In that time, on the media side of things, we were in. I had a little blurb on CityCast Salt Lake. It's a local podcast that deals with just all things kind of Salt Lake City. They were talking about how to go car free or car light. So had a little blurb on there. We also were mentioned in the Tribune about free fare. They did me a little dirty on that one. They included all my ums and ands, which made me a little upset. But overall, the Tribune has a new transportation reporter, and we had a good conversation around that. And so hopefully kind of going forward, they'll be reaching out to us a little bit more.
Who is that?
I knew you were going to ask that. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember, but it was an article that came out about a week ago. It was talking about free fare.
Guy or girl?
It's a woman.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Tarina something?
That sounds right. It's in my phone, so I know not to miss it when she calls. But anyway, so she'll probably be reaching out a little bit more, and I'll be sure to be like, hey, don't use all my ums and ands when you get me on the spot like that. Also had a presentation up at the Capitol this past couple of weeks talking about the budget and how we shouldn't be cutting taxes and instead be investing in things. And of course, it was a cavalcade of everybody under the earth saying, hey, maybe we should actually invest in Utah. And I had the opportunity to go up there. Had a couple of great connections that I'm going to be working through to see if we can't do a little bit more with them, like Clean Air Utah. Who else did I connect with while I was up there? Save Our Canyons was up there as well, as I recall. And so there's just good opportunity to shake babies and kiss hands and do what you need to do on that. And then we also got the newsletter published. Thank you all for getting together and getting those articles done. John wrote a novel, so it's a good novel. I actually enjoyed reading through all of it, so I couldn't get it all fit in. So I'm going to start rolling out a couple of extra blog posts, just kind of related to that, just so that we can continue to have engagement on that. But yeah, and then Chris, thank you as well for getting that article put together. Yeah. So that went out a couple weeks ago. On the fundraising side of things, I submitted a grant to Ben and Jerry's, which was promptly not accepted about 2 weeks later, unfortunately. But at the very least, it's still getting out there. And I do have as an agenda item a little bit later on regarding fundraising a little bit more, so we can talk about that in a minute. On the networking side of things, caught up. I sent out a bunch of emails to all of my old contacts about just kind of retouching base post-holiday. They've been slowly trickling in. I've heard from Councilwoman Burrell up in Cottonwood Heights. She is going to start working contacts to see if there are more people I can talk to that might be interested. Also met with Keith Bartholomew. He is up at the University of Utah and also is doing the Wasatch Transportation Academy. He is also interested in helping us out a little bit more. I'm going to be speaking to his class actually in April just to talk about advocacy, and hopefully we can get a little more activity out of the University of Utah now that we have a chapter up there. And speaking of chapters, we have another individual that's submitted for a chapter. It is not ready yet. There's still a little bit more work that needs to be done, but it will be focused on South Salt Lake and Sugar House. And so working with that individual, his name is Scott Harris. And so we will hopefully be getting that chapter up and running soon. Basically, he just was gung-ho and wanted to do it, but he didn't have like a vice president or a secretary or that sort of stuff, and doesn't have any members. So I'm working on, based off of our roster, kind of identifying individuals that might be interested in participating in that as well. But hopefully by this time next month, I will have a chapter for you guys to approve officially for South Salt Lake and Sugar House. As far as upcoming activities, yeah, I mentioned the University of Utah planning class. Otherwise, I don't have a whole lot going on. It's still hunkering down. I'm focusing on getting that chapter up and running, continuing to work on Transit Imagine to get a proposal put together. What's slowing me down is I'm really trying to get as much initial data as possible before I start getting it around. And it's a little difficult to kind of find and put together. Not that it's not out there, it's just there's a lot of it. So a good chunk of my proposal is actually looking at each city, how many routes go through there, what type of routes they are, what's the frequency of those routes. And so that's slowing me down a little bit on top of all of the other stuff that I'm doing. But it is coming along. I'm still working on it, but it's just all these other things keep popping up as well. Finally, by the numbers, we got 80 new Twitter followers over the past month. We're now at 630. No new TikTok followers, no new YouTube followers. 12 new members on the website. So we are now up to 165, and 2 new on the mailing list. We are now up to 20 on that. So that is my update. Are there any questions?
Yeah, 2 things, Curtis.
Yeah.
One, connect me with the people from the Sugar House. I have some friends that live there that
Okay.
I think would like to get involved, so I'd like to just loop them all together. And then on Transit Imagined, when I was thinking about this and had initially discussed it at the board meeting, I was thinking about frequency as being a key thing here. And when I talk to people about, and this will kind of lead into our next agenda or one of our agenda items, when I talk to people about, frequent fare, frequent service versus free service, and I said I've been doing an elevator pitch question to people at work, and the question is, would you rather have free service as is, or would you rather have frequent service as in 5-minute service within a 15-minute walk anywhere in Salt Lake County? And that's how I put frequent service, because I don't know a better way to like fit it into like one sentence while somebody's going up the elevator, right?
Right.
And overwhelmingly, people, and these are people at the University of Utah mostly, who take the train, who take tracks, or who take the bus, or want to. There's a lot of want to but don't. Overwhelmingly want the more frequent service. Like, it's not even close.
Sure.
Like, I think one person was like, well, it'd be better if we have better coverage. So there was one equivocal, and there was one person I brought over to the frequent side from free. And so
so it's a push-pull is what you're saying.
Yeah. When you're thinking about, I had to educate him. When you're thinking about Transit Imagine, don't think, I want us to get away from 15-minute service as frequent service. I want us to think beyond that. Because if you have to make a connection and you have 15-minute service, the two missed connections there is at least another 15 minutes, up to 30 minutes on your commute. And for people that depend on getting to work on time and will get in trouble if they don't get to work on time, and that goes on their record, that's a big deal. And that's still not
a deal breaker.
Enough,
yeah,
I think. Yeah, it's a deal breaker, and it's still not good enough, for people out there who are relying on transit and to attract people off of their cars, which is the other point about free fares, is that they don't seem to move people out of cars. They seem to move bikers and pedestrians into buses and not people from cars into transit. That's a problem. So, hashtag rant over, carry on, but I just wanted to throw those things out there.
Sure. Oh, that's good to know. And so one of the things that I was actually thinking of doing is kind of doing an unofficial poll on the website to kind of, again, generate a little bit of traffic as well, but also kind of ask those questions, right? Do you prefer free fare? Do you think that we need to expand? if given the choice between the two, is it, like you said, are you now going to use free fare for the week and just because you're going to abandon your car, or is it just still not going to work for you? Yada 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 down the line, right? So I've been plugging away on that. I was actually going to release it tomorrow, just because yes, technically it starts today, but let's be realistic here. So yeah, I was planning on throwing that together though and getting that out.
I think it's already a no-brainer is that people are not going to get on the bus or the train if it still takes an hour and a half, even if it's free. I mean,
sure. But if we have some information that we can kind of put behind that,
I mean,
first of all, that is
you'll gather some good information, but I don't think I think the conclusion is going to be that I'll pay $250 if I can walk 15 minutes to get 5-minute service. I can do that.
Sure.
And I think, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's what, I mean, constantly in the past almost 10 years now that I've been doing this, that's what everybody says. It's like, I don't have a bus in my neighborhood anymore. And if I have to drive to a track station and then, get on the tracks and then, wait for the bus that's still an hour and a half, and it just does not work. So I'm sure that's what we'll find.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Chris. I think it's kind of a no-brainer, and that's what I've been finding as well. I think we need to think. I think it's important to put out the poll and get the information, so we have some numbers to bring to the right audience, being the legislature or the governor's office, to say, hey, this free. Yeah, we're glad you're interested in transit, but let's focus on the right aspect of transit. Let's focus on getting people into transit so that it addresses our future growth issues, our present traffic growth issues, our air quality.
Yep, and again, and this
is a dirty word, climate.
Yep, and this is why I talked at the top of the hour about paying bus drivers more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bree's working 55 hours a week, and there's been the last 2 times I've been on the bus, there's an announcement that comes over the buses, the radio that says, "Hey, we're looking for people for overtime this week. Can you work overtime?" And I think this was for the holiday. But so the argument is well, okay, if you do it free fare, the free fare is not going to work because what we're going to find is that people are just, I mean, there'll be a bump. We saw that bump in last month, but there'll be a bump, but there's not going to be that big bump that you would get if the frequency was there. If the frequency was there, if the Redwood Road or the State Street or the 9th East bus was every 7 or 8 minutes, or 5 minutes peak during the morning and afternoon, then you're going to get a hell of a lot more people than you would more than free fare. The people already without cars are already using the bus, and we don't care if we're going to be waiting an extra 15 or 20 minutes because that's the choice we've made, right? So anyway, I think that's what we'll find, and I think if you include that in, making that we have to pay bus drivers more, bus operators more, because like I said, a 20-year veteran with UTA is only making $52,000 a year. So
yeah. And I think if you put the poll together in a way with this in mind, because it's not a scientific poll, we're not getting a polling agency, we're not publishing these results to like a scientific body or etc. Like, we have a chance to be a little bit advocacious or something, on this. And so just
rah-rah-ish.
Rah-rah-ish. Yeah. Be rah-rah-ish. It's okay.
Yeah. No, and just to let you all know, when I've been asked about this, kind of the line that I take is, well, yes, UTRU does hold affordable transit as one of our things. So yeah, it's great that free fare is taking place, but I follow it up with but what about our drivers? What about frequency? What about coverage? And so it's not just a simple, yeah, this is great, and let's just do this all the time. I think we should do it all the time, but we should also do a bunch of other things as well. So that's how I'm approaching it, just to let you know when I am asked on that. Okay, moving on, unless there's other questions. Okay, This coming Saturday, we will be having our quarterly meeting. Representative Joel Briscoe is scheduled to speak along with two individuals from UTA whose names escape me at the moment, but basically they will be talking about what they're doing to address the driver shortage, as well as the results of the 5-year plan that has just kind of wrapped up, the most recent 5-year plan, and also just to kind of get their thoughts on free fare as well. Beyond that, I don't have much of an agenda. I will be talking about the charters and encouraging people to do that. Continuing to do the push for more people to become dues paying members. Continue to push on that. And I do have an item on that. Actually, I don't have an item, so I'll just bring it up on there. One of the other things I was thinking about doing, and I just kind of want to get the board's feel on this, and it's super small. I almost do it by myself, but it's just a little bit, is I just want to print up like some stickers that people can stick on the back of, laptops and things like that. Been looking into it. It's like $100 for 100 of them. If we say, hey, if you donate $10, we'll give you 3 of them. So we'll make a little bit of money on the side, hopefully, and then get some more dues paying members into the fold. And so I was just wanting to make sure, since it's $100 or so, I just want to make sure that was okay with you guys, or get your thoughts on that.
I think that's a great idea. I see a lot of people with the stickers on their laptops and their water bottles and everything. I think it's a good way to start a conversation about what UTRU is.
Yeah. Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. Well, then what I'm going to do is, basically my plan is I'll start with a batch of like 100. I say, if you donate $10, we'll give you 3 stickers. The idea being 1 for you, 1 to give to someone else, and then 1, people like to save them. And so 1 to collect as a keepsake, and then we'll just kind of see how that goes. It's $100, so it's not the end of the world if it falls flat. But yeah, people like stickers, I've noticed. So I know I do. So okay, I will start moving on that as well, and it'll just be the UTRU logo along with utru.org at the bottom. So cool. We'll get those out. But yeah, so that's the plan for the quarterly meeting. Is there anything anybody wants to discuss during the upcoming meeting, or that we should be discussing during the upcoming meeting?
No, but I do have a recommendation that you have a presentation available in case Joel can't make it at the last minute. So
sure, that's actually not a bad idea.
If something happens legislatively that either he's wiped out, who knows, he might be up all night Friday night. There might be something that pops up, and I only say this because that has happened before, where he has committed to be here and has had to back out for something legislatively. So just keep that in mind. Have something as a backup, so we're not devoid of that area.
Sure.
So that's all I have to say on that.
No,
and
that's
then
good.
and then can we add to the discussion items free fare versus frequent service?
Sure. Just kind of bring it up
and have the members. Yeah, have the members discuss it. And then the other thing is, I'm not sure if this is a quarterly meeting thing or just something for the board. Is that the last time we had a rapid expansion of transit was around the Olympics, is my understanding. And we're bidding, I guess, for the Olympics 2032 or something, or 36. I'm not sure what the years are. One of them. So there may be a strategic discussion around how we position and talk to policymakers about improving transit for that upcoming Olympics. And is there, like, the Olympic Committee, if they can wrap something, if we can get something into one of their proposals, I think that would be beneficial for transit in Utah.
Sure. I don't even know who's on that Olympic committee, but go ahead, Randy.
I was going to say, do we want to talk about the ski bus service and frequency, and address that at all in our meeting? And I think that's been a huge deal.
Sorry, Bree, go ahead.
I was just saying UTA for the ski bus things, because UTA, obviously it's funded by taxpayers, and so we're still getting the same amount of money from the government, but we've severely reduced our frequency and our coverage, and so they're in hot water for all of that. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm sure that you guys already knew that, but yeah, it's a big deal.
Which again, I think is it's part of the bigger discussion, i.e. the big elephant in the room is, gosh, if you paid your operators more, you would have more operators. If you had more operators, the service wouldn't have to be cut back. So this is why I'm interested to hear what these guys have to say about what they're doing for the driver shortage. I mean, I had a labor shortage here this last year in my business, and you know how I solved that? I gave everybody a pretty much a $5 an hour raise so that I could get that one person so I mean, it's a big elephant in the room, the argument. And so I'm going to be my ears are going to be open to hear exactly what they're doing specifically to get more operators. But Randy, you're right. I mean, talking about the ski bus is important. But again, I think it's part of the bigger discussion is, how are you going to get the operators? Well,
so they keep saying it's a big operator problem, and I'm sure it is, but that's not the real biggest problem to me. Is that, okay, we have one thing that works, the ski bus, like it's packed all the time. There's like, people love taking the ski bus deal. The ski resorts pay for the deal. If you have an Icon pass, you get, you can ride it. So there's like demand, right? And so that's the one place they drastically have to cut so that people notice it the most. I don't understand why that's, that just doesn't make sense to me.
I think the big reasoning for that, not that I agree with it, but is that people use the other routes to get to work and things like that, whereas ski is more recreational. So they thought to cut that more so it wasn't impacting people's work lives, which again, I don't necessarily agree with. I don't think we should have to cut any service. But
I don't know about that, Randy, because they cut. I don't know about that because they cut a lot of 15-minute service. They've cut the 45. They've cut the 205. The 220, 39. I mean, these were all 15-minute routes. So they've drastically cut back service outside of the ski bus. I think the only reason why it is such a forefront and why people, well, again, it's a popular route, but so are all the other routes. I mean, and again, and I've talked about this before, now I have to spend an additional 20 minutes in the liquor store. So, cutting back service, it's bad news because, and then I start taking more home and then I'm drinking more. So UTA has basically made me an alcoholic, but
there you go.
But yeah, lame. But again, so I mean, I kid, but there's a lot of those 15-minute routes that have been cut back that pre-pandemic at least, and post-pandemic, we can't complain about it because they're gone. But again, like I said, it is the driver shortage is impacting the current routes. Like I said, in the last two or 3 months, 209 has been affected 3 or 4 different times where they've had to cut back from half-hour service after 6 to an hour service after 6, and that's they're cutting the parts of the service that people don't use. But I would imagine, given the number of drivers that it would take to run a 15-minute ski bus, you'd have to cut back other routes. I mean, and again, I don't have the exact numbers, but I just think that it's a specialty item that especially given the congestion in Little Cottonwood Canyon, that is that makes people go, why are we doing this? But again, I think it comes down to the, if you made that $25 an hour cap the starting wages, you'd have people crawling out of the woodwork to become a bus operator, and you'd have bus operators stay longer. I mean, Bree, can you give us an idea of people that you've known since you've been a driver that's come and gone?
Yeah, so the biggest issue that we have, so it costs obviously thousands of dollars to train people to get their CDLs for UTA policy, all of that stuff. And most people don't stay more than 3 months because of the schedule, because the extra board is awful. And, you know, we can go into this being a generational thing of, you know, millennials and Gen Z are lazy, whatever, that I don't. It doesn't really help you. It doesn't address the actual like situation and how to fix that. So I don't know. We can't keep drivers if we don't work on the extra board. And that's why I voted down this recent contract negotiation, is because they didn't have anything in for the extra board, and they think giving us $2 more an hour is going to keep people. It's just not. So I don't know. I know that I've been pretty vocal in the past about being pro free fare. My opinion on that has actually changed. I'm more siding with you guys now with the frequent service more, just because of what I've witnessed since transferring up to Salt Lake. It's a very different environment. I don't know. Timpanogos doesn't. I mean, we were overstaffed down there because they didn't work you 16 hours a day. So yeah. That's my little piece on all of it.
Yeah, and again, you know, go ahead.
So, and there's always going to be a worse problem, right? So the reason I brought up the ski bus is that it's notorious and it's easy to say, well, you know, this was a popular thing, and then you cut it out. And when you talk about people going to work, you're right, but a ton of those people riding the ski bus work there. Right. So sure. If you just take the people that work up there off of the road, that makes a big difference. And so anyway, the bigger point is there's a tipping point where if you cut everything back to where it's not usable at all, then you lose all the riders, and then it's hard to say, well, nobody's riding this route anymore, because of course no one's going to ride it if it only comes every hour and it leaves you stranded. And you know, if you try to go downtown for dinner and the last bus leaving town leaves at 8:30, then yeah, you're going to drive down there. So I don't know. It's just it seemed like you're right. Back when the Olympics were there and pre-COVID, the effort was to provide a usable way to get around. And, you know, if we had to subsidize it, it was for public good. And that's, you know, that was the theory. And we had federal grants, we had the trains, we had all that stuff. And now it's just, well, we need to make it work financially somehow. And if we have to not pay people or cut service or just not have it work, then that's the way it is. So
yeah,
sorry. I just I've actually been really irritated with that because I've tried talking with Cheryl Beveridge and Jay Fox and things like that. And a big thing that they always talk about with fixing the extra board and paying operators more, of course, is money. But that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me because we're supposed to be a nonprofit anyway. So I don't like, you know, paying operators a little bit more. It's not benefiting, or supposed to not benefit them any. So I don't really understand. I don't know, just in regards to what you were saying about the money thing. And it's just, that's all that matters, I guess. And well, to them. And I don't know how to really do. I'm just a bus operator. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do to help with any of that.
And I'm sorry, clarify that a little bit. You're saying that they're just throwing money at the problem rather than.
No, they're refusing to put money towards the problem, because fixing the extra board would cost money, but it would make our lives better. It would ensure that we have more drivers.
See, this is where I keep pointing back to the problem. Basically, is that so I mean, you're right. UTA is basically a nonprofit, but the way that the state legislature looks at it a good majority of them, because they're backwards country bumpkin Republicans, and that think that, you know, that it, and sorry if there's any backwards country bumpkin Republicans here, but the problem is that they think that transit, it's like the idea of full buses, right? We have to have full buses going riding up and down the street. If I see an empty bus, it's not working, right? So the argument is that, you know, they think that it has to be making money. Well, not all of UTA's routes can make money, but it does incorporate into a better transit system. But the idea is that they're not getting any more money as it stands right now. But unfortunately, we need to do it, and this is where that disconnect with free fares is coming from, right? So, and I'm not really sure if, I mean, maybe there's a devious force at work here saying that, well, gosh, if we just make free fares, then we don't have to worry about the system. And that's truly what I'm afraid of is going to happen, is that they're going to say, okay, here's free fares, but it's going to be at this low level of service that will basically only support, you know, the people that go to the University of Utah, or who go to BYU, or who go to Weber State University. Because if you look at all of the routes that are being generated, you know, the BRT up in Ogden, the BRT that's going to be going from Murray Central to Salt Lake Community to West Valley. These are all routes that what they're planning on doing is they're just building these routes for a particular segment in the market, rather than like guys like Mike and myself that have completely given up our cars, right? And so this is where I'm afraid that free fare is great, but if there's not going to be that investment in the back end, meaning that we should be getting another extra cent on the sales tax, right? Another 1% to expand the routes. And so unfortunately, the legislature is the people that we have to be knocking on the door with, and that we have to get them on board with the fact that free fare isn't just going to cut it. We have to, again, to get the service back to where it was, we're going to have to pay operators more. That is just the bottom line, is that we're going to have to drastically bump up the pay, or the people that see the extra board, they come on and they go, I have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I have to go to work, you know, for a couple hours, and I have to come back at night to work for 3 or 4 hours at $20 an hour. No, thank you. I'm going to go flip burgers for $15 an hour on an 8-hour shift. And, you know, that's just the way it is. So, you know, I'm sorry if I'm a little bit passionate about that. But again, I think that the problem is we're going to have to throw money at it, but the money just isn't there. Not now, not yet.
All right. Well, lively discussion about our upcoming meeting. Yeah, and I think these are all valid points, and it would be great again if like during the meeting we'll have a little bit of data from the poll that I'll be putting out. So that'll be nice. And maybe be like, hey, you know, we want more frequency. We don't necessarily want free fare, but yeah, one of the things that I always like to say before we move on is when I'm advocating is one bus is good and two buses are better. But the flip side of that is two buses are better than one, right? And so if we are continually cutting and cutting and cutting, what are we really doing with our system? Okay, next item. So as you may recall, we officially bumped down the necessary number of people to be on the board. So we actually became an official like seated board at the last meeting. And one of the things that we do need to do is we need to elect actual officers to the meeting. So this is a discussion amongst you all as far as who wants to do what, but we do need to fill seats for president, first and second vice president, secretary, and treasurer. So the president presides over meetings of the membership, executive committee, general active management of the advisory councils, see that all resolutions of membership are brought to the board, have general supervision and direction of all of their officers, shall submit a report to the option of operations of the corporation to the fiscal year, and be an ex officio member of all committees and local chapters. So is there anybody who wishes to nominate themselves for well, I'll go through all of them actually. So that's president, first and second vice president basically do the same thing in the event that the president isn't able to do it. Secretary attends all meetings of the boards, committees, all of that good stuff. Record all votes in minutes, which would be great for me. Certify standing of all nominations, perform all official correspondence of any councils. And then the treasurer is the chair of the finance committee, maintain a corporation bank accounts with the president, shall be a signatory on all accounts, ensure that membership dues are properly assessed and collected, present a complete and accurate report of the finances, and then assist in direct audits of the funds of the corporation. So those are the general roles. I guess before I say like who wants, well, actually, I'll just start off by asking, is there anybody that is interested in doing any of those positions? Don't all speak up at once.
I'd be interested in the secretary position if nobody else has their eye on that.
The two most important jobs on that board is secretary and treasurer. Mm-hmm. Just tell you right now, being a president is easy. You just basically stand up and talk.
Yep, you show up to things.
Yep.
Obviously, I will assist all of you as I have been. So it's not as if I'm just giving up all of this stuff to just be like, have fun, you guys. I'm obviously going to be here for you as well. Okay. Anybody else want to throw their hat in for anything?
I will take treasurer responsibilities officially, since technically I already do.
Right. Fair enough.
That's it.
I'd be willing to be one of the first or second vice presidents.
Okay. Okay. Still looking for a president. Anybody interested?
Curtis, wouldn't that be you?
No, I'm the executive director, so I would have to report to all of you, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so I would have to sit on the board in order to be the president. So technically, no, I'm not. I love how everyone's cameras turned off all of a sudden when I started talking about this.
I think Chris should be the president.
I don't know if you can hold two positions is the thing. I don't know if we say one way or the other. That is a good question. I wonder. I'm not necessarily seeing anything against it. I mean, yeah, I'm not necessarily seeing anything against holding multiple positions.
Okay, sorry, I had to go make tinkle, and I apologize for that. But the
well, don't go to the bathroom when we're around. We're gonna nominate you for all of them.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. I have to drink a lot of water because my allergy medication, if I don't do it, my stomach gets all out of whack. And I mean, you know how it is when you get old. Anyway, so two things. First of all, a person can hold dual positions, but I've been president for like way too long, and as much as I'd like to, I mean, I will if nobody else wants to, but my suggestion right now, and again, these are usually held in a year spots, but my suggestion would be to nominate John. John is not here, but to protest, but I'm pretty sure that he would not protest. But I would nominate John as president, and I would either put Zach or Randy as the other vice president. And so I would nominate either one of them if they are so willing to do it. And again, I would make Mike first vice president. Randy and Zach would, one of those, if you decided to do it, would be second vice president. And basically that second vice president is just ceremonial in case John or Mike gets wiped out by the flu or something and you have to pop in to handle, whatever, a guest spot on a meeting or something like that. So that's what I would recommend. If either one of you would be willing to do that, but I would nominate John. So there.
I'm happy to volunteer because a ceremonial position is kind of my style, so I like that.
Yep, there you go.
Well, if Zach, if you want to be second VP, so you can both kind of be just there, mostly to give you guys a title and a responsibility. We could do it that way as well. So, Randy, I can certainly put you down as the second VP. Zach,
I like that idea. Just put us both down.
Zach, I thought I saw a thumbs up from you.
Yeah.
Is that?
No,
Okay.
yeah, that sounds good. I accept.
Okay. Well, then I will surprise John, but I'm pretty sure you're right. I don't think that he will protest too loudly. And again, the biggest thing is that I'm here for you. I'm more than happy. Well, I will continue to be here for you guys in order to help kind of with those day-to-day operations. But so we will officially kind of fill out the board once I talk to John about, hey, congratulations. We decided this for you.
Well, technically we still need to have a vote. We've just nominated everybody. So
that's true. That's true.
Yep.
So well, then, let's set John aside for just a second. So I now have we'll put Mike as the first VP. So I guess the motion, here's what I'll propose. I'll need someone to actually say as written. So we'll have Mike as the first VP, Randy and Zach covering both second vice president positions, Bree as secretary, and Chris as treasurer. Is there a motion?
There is a motion.
Is there a second to allow these?
Second that.
All right. All those in favor of the following, please just raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Yeah. Okay. So those positions will be filled. This one will be a conditional one on the assumption that John accepts the nomination for president. Is there a motion for him to become president?
I so move.
Okay. Is there a second?
Aye.
Okay. All those in favor? Hooray. All right. So on the assumption that he accepts, we will go ahead and fill those in accordingly.
Just don't tell him don't tell him it's conditional though.
No, you have to do this now. Okay.
I don't think he'll have a problem with it.
No, I don't think he will either. Okay, so the next item in the last 15 minutes or so, fundraising assistance. So I wanted to bring this in front of everybody. I know I've been talking about it off and on over the past few months, basically I really am looking for actual donors to contact or actual grants to reach out to. Like I said, I've been reaching out to the Ben & Jerry's. I've been trying the local banks and credit unions and those sorts of things. And what I consistently get is, these are great ideas. We support you. This is great. We're not going to give you money, right? We will help you in other ways. But I've been thinking about this more, and I think we need to just start going after high dollar individuals a little bit more often. Unfortunately, I don't necessarily have those contacts. And where I have them, I will work them as best as my ability. But one of the things I told Chris right when I took this job is I'm not necessarily a fundraiser. Like, it's not my specialty. I am an organizer and I am a planner, but fundraising has never been my forte. Basically, I'm putting out a call to you guys to really start to think about individuals that we can work to that are realistic. John, assuming that he is listening in on this after the fact, he does love to send me $100,000 and $500,000 grants, which are great, but we're not going to get those, right? Those are way outside of our scope. But 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 5,000 are reasonable asks for organizations. And so, or individuals. And so I think if we can shift gears and start finding relatively high dollar individuals, if we know of people in the community, or if we can kind of work the grapevine, and frankly, if there are others that are helping in this process, I think that we can get going. Because one of the other things is, I am stretched a little bit as far as what I can do. And I have to find a balance between what our books are versus how much time I can commit, right? I have done the thing where I'm starting to donate my salary back into UTRU to help offset that a little bit, but it would be nice to have a little bit more, and I'm sure Chris would agree. It would be nice to have a little bit more flexibility in those areas. So I've been in the position now for a year, and in that time, I have had a lot of this is great, a lot of we'll get back to yous, a lot of oh well, our thing isn't opening up until X, Y, and Z, and so everybody seems. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
So Curtis, I have a suggestion. And you can't do this you can't do this politically because it's wrong, and that is to go into the disclosure database and approach the donors to different political campaigns. But what I would recommend is that you go through the last couple years, download the complete political database donors, and then see who floats to the top.
I mean, yes, I have thought about that actually.
And we can do it one of two ways. I mean, and again, this is why I think my position working the treasurer is probably the key, and why I said that's where I should be. But once we narrow those down, I can work on either some sort of fundraising letter, or I'm a whiz on the phones. So if we can start mining that information to get names of people, I mean, the bigger thing is because we're a 501c3, everything is deductible, right? So all we need to do is to get a hold of Jim DeBackus and say, that extra $10,000 is going to be taxed, right? So why not just give it to us, and we can go on our merry way. But I would start there. And again, the big donor amounts are obviously what we need. But so when I was chair of the county and state, and I did this as the county progressive caucus. But if you remember, we had a couple of different poker tournaments that raised a decent amount of money. Well, part of the thing then is that political campaigns are not tax deductible, but there are, and we'll just have to check on the poker circuit to see what we can dig up, and basically, so for the people that are not aware, there are poker games, draw poker games that are held throughout the county that are basically cash games. They come in, you drop your money down, and then there are prizes that these people win. Technically, it's illegal, but as far as I know, and I had this discussion with Sim Gill years ago, they don't prosecute it under certain rules, and that is that everybody gets a chance to get the prize. But basically the idea is that we sit people down, you say you get to play poker, you get to make a donation, that donation is tax deductible. Oh, and there's some prizes you can win, and the prizes that we put out are something like a 60-inch television set, a PS5. Usually electronics works, but we can actually bring in quite a lot of money on that type of event. Sure. But the downside is that, oh gosh, it's gambling, and you know, I don't know how you feel about that, but
Well, so and the nice workaround is technically it's not gambling. If what you do is you do something like, well, you show up, you play poker for a while, you make a tax donation, and then you get a raffle ticket. And the second you do a raffle ticket, if you want to buy, and you can even do a thing where like you can put your prize money in as what you win, you get more raffle tickets, right? And so that's the frequent workaround in Utah is because even if everybody gets like 5 raffle tickets, and then if you win more, you get more raffle tickets, right? But everybody has to have a chance to win.
a chance to win.
And so that's the workaround, as opposed to just a flat out, I came in with $20 and I walked out with 100, right? That's illegal in Utah, but that's the workaround on that. So, I mean, I am open to any and all suggestions, and if some of you guys want to maybe start working on that, some sort of fundraiser or like a poker tournament or something like that, I think that's great too. I can definitely start combing political donors. Probably going to start on the more liberal side of things than anything else, but start working those contacts as well. So yes, I can do that. But yeah, long story short, I will continue, of course, to apply for grants and apply for loans, apply for grants, and just look for those donors out there. But yeah, the frequent thing is, this is a great idea, we can't give you money. And so, yeah, frankly, I've gotten a little frustrated with the situation out there, which is why I wanted to bring it to you guys. But yeah, I am open to suggestions. And the nice thing is, and one of the things, just to let you all know, is that I'm, all things considered, as far as how we run as UTRU, is we are a relatively thin organization, right? Like really the only thing is me, as far as costs are concerned, and I'm part-time, super duper duper part-time. And then beyond that, some of our initiatives are very much designed to be scalable. So like the transit, or not transit, imagine the community advocacy program, for example, is super scalable. If we only get $1,000, then we only do 3 presentations or 4 presentations. If we get $10,000, we can do 16, 15, 16. Like, it just kind of depends. So all things considered, we're pretty lean, but that doesn't mean that we don't still need money. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. I want to get you guys' thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and assistance in that process. So yeah, cool. Well, then maybe if we can get you guys, and I'll work with y'all, but maybe if we can get some movement on maybe like a poker tournament or something like that, that would be great. Any other ideas before we move on to, we already talked about free fare, and John hopped off anyway. Any other ideas?
UTRU cookies. UTRU cookies, where everybody's going to get a box of 12 cookies that they have to sell to 12 of their friends.
The little candy bars, we could start doing that.
Candy bars. Yep.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, great. Well, kick that around and I'll start kind of pushing that out, and we'll just start moving on that, because yeah, we need money. It's not dire, but we need money. Okay, last item is the open forum. We talked about a lot of things today, but is there anything else anybody wants to bring up? Crickets. Okay.
Record keeping, Bree. Just so you know, that's a big one on the secretary side. But I'm glad you're there. I know you can do it. So just as an FYI, you need to be thinking along the lines of keeping track of everything that we're doing and helping Curtis out that way. Because obviously the less that he has to do in that aspect, the more he can do in other aspects, which is really the bigger thing, the bigger issue. So
yeah. Well, and Bree, just to let you know on that front, like, the nice thing is these are recorded, right? And so, like, what I frequently do is I plug away at the minutes over the next few days, and just kind of get those updated. And since it's going to be, and I'll throw it up on YouTube, so when you get a few minutes here and there, you can kind of plug away at it. As long as they're done before the next meeting is the biggest thing. And then yes, the record keeping for whatever else we have going on. I can work on getting you access as far as like membership rosters and those sorts of things. The nice thing is it's mostly just downloadable. There's not a whole lot you actually have to do other than download it and make sure it's in a safe location. Like we have a server for UTRU, so you just want to make sure it gets put up there. And I can work with you more a little bit about it. It's not that it's hard, it's just, and it's not even that it's all that time consuming, but yeah, like Chris said, if I can be focusing on other things, it's just one less thing to kind of eat up my time when I have, new chapters and grants and all of this sort of stuff. So I'm definitely happy to work with you on that. It's not big, it's not huge, but it's a few hours a month. It would make my life a little bit easier. So
I am very open to anything that can give me more experience, like for resume purposes, because I'm selfish. So I am more than happy to do this for you. I do have to say though, I had sent you an email like a month or two ago about switching to my Ride UTA email because I check that more frequently.
Oh,
and
did I not update that?
I don't know if you've sent anything, but I haven't gotten anything, and I'm still getting these reminders to my old email. So
I wonder if I didn't. I thought I updated the group. Maybe I didn't. I know you sent that email, and I even remember seeing that email, and I thought I updated it. So apparently I didn't. I'll fix that. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do on that front. So yeah, I will do that change right when we get off. And yeah, sorry about that. Okay. Anything else anybody has? Okay. Well, that being said, we have our meeting again, our membership meeting on this coming Saturday. Please be sure, I'll be pushing it out throughout the week, but please be sure to, go through the channels to inform people. We always want to make sure that we do that. And yeah, unless there's anything else, final agenda item was to adjourn. No need for a vote unless anybody has one final thing. Okay. With that, thank you guys as always, and we'll see you hopefully at least on Saturday.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great seeing everyone.